lovely day. It's been great, hasn't it? All these ideas. I'm sure there are things that we already know, and there's always new jewels that we get, great teachers. So now I'm about ready to have a nap. And now it's me. So draw in my energy, send me energy. I am talking about home is... I do know, I really do know. Home is where your story begins. Home is where your story begins. And around that time, we were talking about 1991, I really was creating a new story for myself because, I'm going to keep checking the time, because I'd been running a PR and marketing company in the hotel and tourism industry. I'd grown up in hotels. It was all very natural to me. I was a natural promoter. And then I had one of those crashes where everything stops. Has anybody ever had one of those where you just grind to a halt? And so in my process of recovery and looking at things beyond what I was normally working with, I stumbled across feng shui. And I ended up one Friday night, dinner at the Community Health Foundation. I remember the evening I went, and Bill Spear was speaking, and then he had the weekend course. And during that weekend, I thought, God, if this works, it could change people's lives. And then I resolved, I'm going to put this on the map. Because I had, I had a long career in marketing and publicity, and I thought the world needs to know about this. So it was part of my own journey in recovery. And it's really sustained me through the years, because it's taught me how to live and how to understand where I am, irrespective of whether I help anybody else. And people say to me, do I practice it? Do I teach? I live it in an unconscious way, because there's so many unconscious skills. I had to kind of unpack things to talk about them. So the home for me is the container, and I bought this somewhere. I probably bought it in a charity shop somewhere. Somebody said they saw it in B&M. And I thought that, this resonates so much with me. I'm beginning a new story. I'm in a new home. This is what it's all about. And I remember going out on consultations with William Spear, and he would say to people, so tell me, where do you come in through the door? Which door do you come in? What do you do? And he'd get them to reenact exactly what they did when they came home from work. So you begin to understand that there's a routine, there's a ritual, there's a practice, there's a habit that you have in a home, and that's what our homes are full of. So if you want to change your life and you want to have a new chapter in your life or a whole new story, I found it difficult in doing that by staying in the same place, because it's embedded with all those rituals and practices of what I normally do, and this is where everything normally is. How can I be somebody else if this container is so well constructed around the me that I am now? And I looked at the way that my home supported me and how it constrained me. And about 2014, after quite some time of knowing that I needed to move forward, I came to the decision the new year that I had to leave my home. And the homes that I had, because I lived in two, I had my London home where lots of things started, where the feng shui started, where the London Personal Development Centre, the Yes Group, so many things. Do you remember there was a night that we had Takashi Yoshikawa? You came, you brought Boy George with you, and we had this amazing dinner just out of nowhere. And, those kind of things happen in that home. So that house that I had for 25 years, it was deeply embedded in my identity. So to let go of it was really, really letting go of my identity. And my home in Yorkshire, let's just show the house. I'm going to press, you press. Okay, so that's the house in London. It's not the best view of it, but there's the van going up to Skipton. This is me just about moving out. I think that's the picture of the lorry just driving away. Now, this is the house in Yorkshire. Okay, that's London. Go back to the next one. Yeah. So this is the healthy home, and I moved up there maybe in about 96. I stopped living in London full-time because I couldn't stay in London all the time. I was in the West End. Most people in the West End go to their country homes or move away, and I was around at the weekends, working on courses. It just became too much, too intense to me as my energy was shifting. I couldn't stand that intensity. So this house started out as the cottage and then the barn, and then it's just grown. So this is where I lived for 18 years. It's the Healthy Home. It's where I wrote the Feng Shui house book, Simple Feng Shui. The Healthy Home book was based on this house and creating an environment that was healthy. And I was going to have to give this up as well, because as beautiful as it is a hilltop. My partner, who I created this with, and it's largely his house, we separated, so we were no longer in a relationship. But we maintained a friendship, or like family, so we kind of had it's like a child, really. We had the house between us. So I was still around at the house, and over the years, in the 2000s, while we were separated, I traveled for half the year. So I'd go to Australia, I'd go to San Francisco. I felt called to do so. I can't give you a logical reason why I did it. And I came back to 2 houses, and neither worked. So I had to make this decision about leaving. And painful, it was painful, leaving it behind. And I didn't know where I was going to go, and I didn't know who I was. Next slide. Now these pictures. I was giving a workshop in Bali, a women's retreat. A lot of programs I've done on feng shui and healthy home, they're largely attended by women. In the end, I just did women's courses in feng shui, and most women were in a life transition point, changing. So when I did this retreat in Bali, I reflected on, had I changed over the years? Just let me have a look. So I put this, I thought, I can't believe this. So I put this on a business card, and I gave it to someone, and they thought, these are my business partners. There were 3 of us. And I said, no, it's all me. So this is like, you know, the London West End office me. This is me in Yorkshire. And then this was me in 2000, that was taken in 2011. And then this is the 2018 version. So, you know, let me just, I've got somebody's phone here, but I'm going to use it so I can keep note of the time, then I'm not going to talk too much. I need a whole table here. Yeah, next version of me. So I'm arriving at a milestone age, that kind of milestone age of 60, where it's the 3rd age of life. So I was at a transition point, knowing I needed to change, wanted to change, had to change, didn't know what I was going to change into, and also I'd arrived at the end of a segment of life, and that was for me happening where I needed a new story, at the same time as the global story is changing. So it's not just me that's changing and everybody else is ticking along. The world is changing at such a rate that who am I in this new world? And with the narrative about older age being about retirement, which is in my programming, there's people are talking to me about retirement. So I even get caught up in it about, and then I think I'm just beginning. I remember Lynn Frank saying, you know, I'm 67 and when I grow up. When I grow up, you know, at that age. So I still feel extremely young. I am extremely young. So all those questions are coming in, and I have to say, as an older woman, there's a level of invisibility that I felt, that I had less value because I'm older and I'm a woman. So that's one of the things I've researched over the last 15 years about women, women's empowerment, feminine leadership, the rise of feminine energy, the rise of feminine values, exploring what that is in my own feminine energy rising. You know, what's happening for me? Who am I becoming? So I moved, next slide, I moved to the next slide, and I moved to Skipton. You know, because it's literally down the road from the Healthy Home, and it seemed logical. Of all the places I could go, I came down to, let me go home to Yorkshire. That's where I'd have my one home for a while I decide about what's next. So I'll rent somewhere. And Skipton is the best place to live, according to the Sunday Times, and according to the Government Office of National Statistics, is the happiest place to live. So I'm living there. And I didn't live there because of that. I found that afterwards. I thought, good choice, Gina, good choice. It is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I came to Skipton and I rented a house. I had a visualization about what I wanted. I had no idea what I wanted, but I needed light, a conservatory which has light, and I needed nature, a view. I didn't want to walk to nature. I wanted to see it out the way. I was looking for somewhere that had that. And I ended up finding a house by synchronicity. I have no time to tell you about that. But I arrived at this house. I went to have a look at it, and I said, this is the house. And it had light, freshly painted, so obviously even more bright. And it was in the town of Skipton, so finally I'm like I was in Marylebone, I'm in the town and I can walk to places rather than being on the hilltop and feeling remote and disconnected. There's something about looking at, I'd moved there because I needed horizons that I didn't have in London. So I'm in London with metal bars at the window and my view of the world is very, very short, but I needed to have a vista to have that inner landscape opened up, and that was the reason for living on the Yorkshire hilltop. But then it's lonely, you know, I'm remote, and all my friends are at the other end of a Skype, and I just needed more connection. So I moved into Skipton. I found this house in a row of houses, a terrace with it was on a private road, and in front of our houses we have a long garden, like an orchard, where we all have a slice of garden. It's all open. We have an old railway track at the end of the gardens. It goes to a quarry, so we have a few trains a day that make it interesting. It's not too busy. And people have lived there. One woman has lived there 40 years. Somebody's lived there 75 years who moved out the house I was in. The lady next door to me lived there 90 years. Down the road, Barbara lived there 45 years. I mean, people didn't move out. And the house, so I'm renting, because the lady had moved to be with her daughter. After that, everybody owned their own houses and had been there decades. And I thought, this is a special place. I have really chosen well here, but I'm renting. Would be nice to live here, actually. I'm finding somewhere that I feel comfortable because I don't know who I'm going to be, so I'm constantly in the process of figuring out what the next phase is, asking for signs, listening to signs. And then, bless her, the lady next door to me passed away while I was away at a conference, and I went to give my condolences to her son when he came up from London. He said, well, we'll have to put the house on the market. I went, I'd like to buy it. I'd love to buy it. And they said, we'd love to sell it to you. Oh, that's really nice. So I bought the house. And what was interesting about living next door is I got an understanding of the light, how the light played, where the light was in the house in the morning. I got used, when you go and view a house, unless you're sleeping there and you're living in it, you don't know what the house is like. I knew that in the back of the house, which is the kitchen diner, that had all the sun from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was where I wanted to go, but it wasn't a lounge. So I would sit at a kitchen table and relax or work. So I knew that I wanted to make something of that. So when I moved next door, I built an extension and I doubled the size of the kitchen diner. I ended up with an 18-foot by 18-foot, the world's largest kitchen for one. This huge room, literally built for the afternoon light. It was there to receive this light, which I absolutely loved. And at this point, I think I can show you a picture. Oh, yes, you've got a picture. Oh, well done, you. So there we go. It's funny you should talk about the light. Later on, it was even a bit brighter than that. But you can see the light coming in. I mean, I just absolutely love it. So I've got white cork floors to bring up the light. And when it was being built and the walls were grey before the plaster went on, I thought, oh, God, the room's so dark. Oh, it's so dark. I'm so disappointed. But it's amazing the difference between a grey wall and a white wall. And, you know, I chose this marble here in a warm colour to add warmth. You can't have everything white, but I like it has a honey glow. I got the table painted the same colour as this. So bringing in warm honey glows in there, but essentially, and just before we go on to the next one, those lights there, I wanted copper lights, so I brought the copper in. I bought those lights, they were called Lazenby, so I had to buy them because it's my name. When I was looking in the lighting catalogue, and I did want 3 copper lights, but I bought those. When I looked at in the lighting catalogue, the page before, the page after, the lights were called Brosnan and Connery. So those lights were named after Bond characters. I thought, why would somebody call a light Lazenby? Anyway, that was the reason. So those are the lights. The next slide. So yes, that's just, you know, you can see the light coming in, and that is where I relax. I had a desk there. It's interesting about creating a new space, because you can't just look at it and say, I will do this, this, and this. You have to be in it. So I had the desk there so I could work there, and I thought there's nowhere to enjoy this beautiful room, because I didn't think I wanted a sofa in my kitchen, but I enjoyed the space so much I wanted to be there. I put the sofa in so that I could sit in my own space and look at it, and enjoy the colours of the green. Green was greenery was the Pantone colour 2 years ago when I did this. So the next one, you see those skylights there? It was just everything I could do to bring light in, and I've got those copper-coloured Venetian blinds so I can moderate the light coming in. So it's really about creating light and white. I didn't take a whole load of photographs of my house to show you the whole feng shui of the house. I just thought I'd show you about the light. I thought that was more interesting, otherwise it would be all day here. Anyway, of course, paid attention to curves, had to go everywhere to look for a curved bath. That took forever. And when you are designing a new space, because the change process doesn't necessarily involve moving house, it can do. It could involve building or just redefining what you have. But because I didn't know who I was and who I was becoming, I couldn't answer the question, do you want this in, what color do you want this? Do you want it opening left or right? Do you want it opening in or out? Every question I couldn't answer because I had to think about how I would use it. Who's using this house? What am I using it for? And I hadn't done this kind of level of design for a long time. So I was constantly projecting myself into the future of how I would do it, because nothing's ever straightforward. There's always left or right handle or in or out. Complexity. I think we could go to the next one. Oh, yes. So, inspiration. I saw a photograph. This is ties in what you were saying about nature, what you were saying about you like this. I saw this mural wallpaper. I thought, oh, I could have a whole wall of a mural. So I'm looking at all the things you could have. And I kept coming to this picture of a sunrise in a forest. And I love Muir Woods, if I'm from Frisco. I've spent many an afternoon in there, and I've taken hundreds of photographs of the light coming through the trees. Literally, it sets me alight. So then I found this in a charity shop, and I thought, oh, I'll bring it home. It looks like exactly like a slice of this mural wallpaper, and I'll practice living with it. So I practiced living with it. And the next week, next slide, there in the charity shop, there's another one. These are 3 pictures, again, with the light coming through the trees. I found this a second time. This is the spirit talking to me. And I would practice living with them. So the next slide, so I bought it. And that's my lounge wall. And I thought, wow, that's a statement. So I had to design the rest of the lounge around this, but this makes my heart sing every time I walk past it. And, it's taken quite a while to get all this together, but it's got, and I spent a long time looking for very light Danish-type wood floors. I wanted everything, and I don't have carpet. I have it on the stairs because I had wood when the neighbors said, do you have wooden stairs? And she said you could hear me walking up and downstairs, so I got carpet for the stairs for the neighbour, because I'm a good neighbour. But also they look nice. But I was able to plan the lighting because of the level of reconstruction of the house. Specifically, instead of having wall lights and working around them, I've got lights that light up the woodland, and literally you turn it off and then you turn it on again. It's like the sun comes out, and so that's my. You see, it's there. Just what you were saying. The woodland is there. And then next one. So there was a built-in cupboard from this house was built by the woman who passed away, arrived in the house as a baby, and her grandfather built it. Isn't that amazing? So I'm living in a house that the man built the whole terrace and had a vision for people living with like a market garden at the end and an orchard. That's why we have extraordinarily large gardens. And because there's a railway line, the field behind it is inaccessible, so there are sheep. So I live in the town centre with like a market garden orchard with sheep at the end. Oh, it's perfect. So I'm only showing you this because I thought, I'll rip the cupboard out. I thought, no, I won't rip the cupboard out. What am I going to replace it with? So I kept the cupboard. But it's dull without the light. And I tell you, lighting something up that doesn't have glass shells is not easy. A massive amount of work to try and find 4 light systems to light each shelf that you can't see. Took a long time. Anyway, the next one. And that's a classic feng shui picture of expanding space, and I brought that with me. That's Bill's prescription, Bill Spear, when he came around to see my house in London and had this dark corner, and he said, put that there. So that's the beautiful picture, again, of nature, but the pathway moving into the future, and we don't know what the future is around the corner. Next one. So this is upstairs, and I didn't have a larger one. What I want to show you, this is the mirror that, Jan, you told me I should get. This is a 2-meter-high mirror. Oh, it's wonderful. And I'm showing you this. This is a carpet. But I'm showing you this because you just see a reflection in here. What I did was I took out, from a terrace bedroom house with 3 bedrooms, I took out the front bedroom wall to enable a staircase to go to a loft space, which would be a room. And I didn't want a loft ladder. So to have a staircase built, I needed to move the wall by 4 inches. So we took the wall down to rebuild it. As soon as that wall was down and I could see the space open up, I thought, I'm not putting the wall back. So my office is in the 3rd bedroom, but there's no wall. And it was only really in the last month, because we've had a long winter, that light streamed in through, and it came down on the floor, the sunlight, in the morning. In the afternoon, it comes into the bathroom, through the bathroom window into the hall. So this is just a magical space. And what I did, you can just about see, is that staircase going up. Instead of railings, which make it busy, I've got glass panels. Everything I put in that house is about magnifying light, bringing light in, enjoying the light, opening the space. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do or who I was, but I thought I will know by the end of the process, because I'll have created myself a new container that really supports whoever is evolving in this process. So now the question for me is, who's the person that lives in my house? Who have I become in the process? Next one. Okay, so this is the top floor, and this was a lot of work, I have to tell you. An old attic, but I created it, and it's my white space. There's a lot of it took a lot of work to get storage away. I didn't want to go to a storeroom and sit and meditate looking at boxes. So everything is in there behind those doors, and then even in the little eave section, all the Christmas decoration, that triangle piece where the roof goes down, they're all down there. Everything's and it's still being finished, and it's all white in there. The next one, you can see the other side. So this is the space for me, and just since I completed it, it's like the busyness has gone, not so much confusion, but more clarity is coming, because I have this empty space up there with everything that's in there kind of accounted for. Because when you move from a house after 25 years, you have a lot of stuff. At least I did. I won't project that on you, but would you agree? If you, after 25 years, you might have a lot of things, and I had to curate those things. I had to go through them, and I'm still going through them now, because I'm not, when you know exactly what you want and who you are, you know, I don't need this and I need that. But when you're thinking, well, maybe this, maybe that. Okay, just one more. I think we've got, I put this in because you were talking about nature and views of nature, and this is my view of nature. So this is the garden, so I look out onto that. So I look out onto this little bit garden here. That's our private road, and then that's my slice of garden, and then that's there. So I enjoy the whole thing. So what I've done for my own relaxation, which is what I advise other people to do when I look at their houses, is have an invitation in the house. So I've always got places where it's ready for me to sit down, have a cup of tea, there's a table next to it, places for me to relax. In the kitchen, there's a sofa, there's the chairs under the tree, there's a chair here with a footstool that's ready. It's all ready for me. And because I had the opportunity to create the house from new, you know, when you live in a house, you know where you keep the torch and the sellotape? But then when you move house, you have to create everything from scratch and find new places for the torch, the sellotape, the string, the screwdriver. And it's taken, I think I wrote in my diary, moving in May, go on holiday in June. Well, of course, I moved in July, and I'm still figuring it all out. But I'm almost there. I'm 95% there in the last 5% of closing in on creating the space, which is the container for me and the new foundation, and having that foundation so that, in a sense, I've chosen a house which is safe and protected. There are neighbours watching. I feel safe. I don't feel overlooked. Then I've done a party a couple of times for the people to meet people, and it's the house, and now it's ready for me to leave. And I don't mean move out. I mean I can go away. I have that freedom. I could go and live somewhere else for 6 months. I could go away for 2 weeks. I do travel a lot, and I can leave it knowing that back my center, my foundation is organized, it's safe, it's well taken care of, and I can start traveling again if that's what I want to do. Because as I said, I spent 6 months of the year overseas. So just this, the fractal unfolding, which is what feng shui is about. When you have the information at the core, which is clear, we talked about intention. When you have that stated and you know what you want, and you've got an organized way for it to unfold, it will unfold in a way that you want it to, with all the magic of the unknown as well. But you have to start somewhere that's clean and clear and what you want and desired and beautiful. Next one. I'd love this. You know, in being who I am, and I wouldn't know how to describe who I am. People say, what do you do? And I don't know how to answer. Or perhaps I should come up, I'm an author or a company director or something. But I was brought up in an area where you were something and you were that one thing and you remained that one thing. If you trained as an accountant or a banker, that's what you would be. And if you weren't a banker and you were something else, something's gone wrong. Well, hang on a minute, how can you be a musician when you were a banker? How can you be both? So we are definitely in an era, especially with millennials now, of being slashes. I am a web designer / accountant / DJ / yoga teacher, and that be okay to embrace all those aspects of ourselves, which, you know, help us grow, help our brains grow in different ways. We're using different modalities, different intelligences. And that's becoming more the norm, but it's not what I was indoctrinated with. So, you know, you don't have to be carved in stone on one thing. And I'm asking a different question of myself when I said the global narrative, the story is changing because the world is so different. Rather than what do I want to do, who do I want to be, what do I want to do? The question really is, what does the world need from me? What is needed from me? What do I draw from myself to be of service? So we can be of service to the world at any point in our lives, and this is service work. The fact that you're here today learning this and helping people is service work. But particularly, I would say more so, it magnifies as we get older. Speaking as an older person, in that third age, and we are living now to, you know, so many more people will live active lives until 90 or 100. It will be the norm rather than, oh, you're well, you know, 75, you're doing well. We will live older, so this is a new beginning. And I don't like to see advertising to show, I just saw something the other day on the tube, older people, and they're out in the sunshine, they're on a cruise, because it's not true. Yes, older people do have cruises, and I love them. I've been on them myself with my parents. We need to continue to be very useful contributors to society. What is our role? How do we bring wisdom? How do we get used? How do we remain active to be well for all those years? And so, you know, I said about retirement and I've been told that I've moved into somewhere with stairs, you know, I'm getting older. It makes me feel old when people say that. I have got a handle in my shower, so when I get out, I have a handle. That's an older person's thinking, and my mother comes to stay, and she's 85, and it is actually useful, but it's not what I would think of, because I don't have that old thinking of what I need to support myself in older ways. And I don't want to think like that, but you do kind of have to slightly change your thinking as you get older, but the goal is to remain fit and well and energetic and balanced for as long as possible. So I've told you there about identity shift, and I was perhaps going to do an exercise, and we don't have time because it's nearly 5 to 4.
I don't know what you mean by I told you. How about your website?
No, be quiet, you. Go to sleep, Siri. So I was going to ask you about, for you to think about when you might have had a reason to change, to create a new chapter, to become a new you, and to reflect, and maybe that's something that's happening for you now. Let's just have a show of hands. Who might be currently going through life shift, life change, new chapter, new story? Quite a lot. Oh, you're all sitting together. And to reflect, since we don't have the time to do that now as a group, but I've got time, 2 or 3 minutes of questions, to reflect on how the home that you live in, whatever it is a support for that change or a constrainer. What needs to change about it? And not in every case you need to move, and sometimes you need to do. People downsize and move because they've got more family, less family, older people. There's all sorts of reasons to move. But when we are creating that new next level for ourselves, that new version of us, that best version of us, that moving forward, how do we need to arrange our homes to be in dialogue with them? We've learned a lot today about how we interact with our homes.